Every game is crucial for the Chargers down the stretch, and they just caught a huge break because Eagles star pass rusher Jalen Carter will not be playing on Monday Night Football.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Drogemeyer, and we've been covering the Chargers now for 10 seasons, but this is our 8th year as a host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day as part of the #1 sports podcast network. But thank you to the everydayers out there for making us your first listen. To make sure that you never miss the show, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from. David, what do we got today?
Daniel, it seems like every single time the Chargers play another opponent, they are getting players back and getting them healthy. That is not the case in this one against the Philadelphia Eagles, where they have one of their best defensive linemen, Jalen Carter, not available for this game, and that could have some big ripple effects on how this game is played. And playoffs, we got to talk about them. What's the magic number? How many wins do the Chargers have to secure to get to that spot? And Justin Herbert, you can say a lot of things about him. One thing you absolutely cannot say is that he is not tough as nails. He has played through some very, very bad injuries. How tough is he? Is he the toughest QB in the NFL?
It would be fitting because he comes after, who was the toughest quarterback in the NFL in his time in Phillip Rivers. But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com to place your NFL live bets all season long. David, kind of surprise news on Thursday. Not news that I saw coming, but news that should be welcome to Chargers fans. Obviously, you'd never want to celebrate an injury, but also the Chargers and their fans are not ever going to feel bad when the other team has to play down a great player, and that's what's happening on Monday Night Football, as we found out that Jalen Carter, with a shoulder injury, will not be available to the Eagles. He has already been ruled out for this week, and that is a huge, huge boost for the Chargers and a huge break that they're catching here for a team, David, who's already missing Lane Johnson, right? That's a huge one. We all saw, the Chargers without Joe Alt. We know what Rashawn Slater means. Now we know the Eagles are going to be without not just Lane Johnson, but Jalen Carter. And I think as far as what the Chargers' weaknesses are, especially offensively with the offensive line, this is huge news for them.
Well, yeah, Jalen Carter is such a dominant interior pass rusher, just a massive force, a guy who throws people around. I mean, this dude has 36 pressures, 8 hits, also is impactful getting his hands in passing lanes. He is a very, very good football player, and the Eagles are kind of known for having that strength on the spine of their football team, offensive line, defensive line, but now with Lane Johnson and Jalen Carter both looking to miss this football game, or will miss this football game on Monday night, that will have a massive ripple effect on how this game is played and how the Chargers go to attack it. I mean, the Chargers have always, at least recently, dealt with trying to really try to figure out how they can combat that interior pass rush, those stunts, those twists. That communication has always seemed to be a little bit off. When you have a dominant force like that who's not going to play, that definitely alleviates that burden in this game.
And the Chargers, obviously, on their offensive line have the issues interior-wise that they had going back to last season. Now it's not as highlighted because you also have some issues how to tackle now because you're down your top 2 tackles. But you at least feel like the tackle situation is stabilized some. The interior has still had their issues, right? And I mean, I think that when you're talking about them not having this player who is a better pass rusher than a run defender for sure, but just is a disruptive player in general. And also, right, they still have monsters. They have more monsters. He's not the only one they have over there. But when you're talking
unfortunately,
about true difference makers, true game-wrecking type of players on that defense, he's right up there at the top as their best players. So I think that is huge. And I think, we've seen against Jacksonville, who didn't have Brian Thomas Jr., who didn't have their best offensive lineman, they still waxed you, right? That doesn't mean that you can take them lightly. But it does feel like this swings the pendulum in the Chargers' favor for sure. And I think that Action Dan asked a good question here when he says, with the Eagles defensive tackle Jalen Carter out, does that benefit our running offense or our passing offense more? I think, David, it definitely benefits the Chargers passing offense. I have to think a lot more. I mean, like I said, he's a better run defender than he is a rusher, or better pass rusher than he is a run defender. But yeah, like this guy, not specifically chasing after Justin Herbert, is one less threat, which is a great thing.
Absolutely a wonderful thing. Yeah, he's a lot more effective as a pass rusher, both getting pressure and getting his hands in the passing lanes. As I said, he has 5 batted passes so far this season. So he has a knack for, if he's not going to get to the quarterback and get him, put him in the dirt, he's going to get his hands up and disrupt him in that fashion. As a run defender, it's a little scary. I mean, 28 tackles, 11 missed tackles amongst that. That is a super, super high number. So yeah, not the best run defender in the world, but extremely impactful as an interior pass rusher. And with Justin Herbert dealing with the hand injury, he's going to want to protect that. Anytime you can have one less monster trying to destroy your already hobbled quarterback, that's going to be good news for the Chargers.
And also, we've seen Justin Herbert have a propensity to have balls batted down, right? Especially for someone his size. Like, the other kind of crazy part about it is Jordan Davis ranks second in the NFL with 7 batted passes so far this year. And you want to talk about monsters, that guy is, I mean, we remember covering him in the draft. He's just a larger than life human, literally.
He's a mountain of a man. Yeah.
The crazy thing, though, is Moro Ojoma, their other defensive tackle, has as many pressures as Jalen Carter. Like I said, another monster on the inside. Both of them have 36 pressures so far this season. And
that's wild.
Then you look out on the edge, and you have Jalix Hunt and Jalen Phillips, who both have 40-plus pressures this year and have 92 combined pressures. The Jalen Phillips part will be something to monitor because he did have a concussion in the last game. So even though he's a limited participant in practice, we'll see. It happened on Thanksgiving. They're coming off of more break, obviously.
And they got Nolan Smith, too. So it's just like, my goodness, man. So many monsters.
Yeah, Jalix Hunt has 40-plus pressures, Jalen Phillips. And then you also have Nolan Smith Jr., who hasn't played all season but is back now. And then you also have Josh Uche, too, who's nothing to sneeze at. So it's just one of many that they have, but you'll take it. And I think, he is the one where, like, that's the thing with his run defense, right? Like, he misses a lot of tackles, but also that shows you, like, that's why he is graded poorly as a run defender. It's not because he can't, disrupt blocks or be disruptive, but he's also been part of the problem when the Eagles defense is giving up 280-plus rushing yards to the Bears on Thanksgiving. Or on Black Friday. So, I mean, I just think it's one of those things where there's still a lot of guys out there, but it definitely helps the Chargers passing offense somewhat, especially when you have a limited quarterback already. But let's get to this one because it is Fan Mail Friday from We Are the Storm. He says, since Bradley Bozeman was PFF's highest ranked center at 90.1 for week 13, are we finally going to get an elite offensive line for the rest of the season? David, I'm going to say no.
Well, first of all, I'm not sure where we saw the 90.1 because that's not what I saw when I was looking at it. But I mean, it was a great.
I think I saw it floating around on Twitter. I think it was a different site's offensive line metrics. I saw somewhere out there somebody had him as the highest graded.
Yeah.
Obviously, also Jim Harbaugh said it was his best game. That's been backed up by Daniel Popper as well. So safe to say he had his best game of the season.
No, he did. He had his highest pass block grade, 82.6. His 5th game this season with a pass block over 60 or above 60. So yeah, it was a great game for him. And hopefully you just, hope that he can take that momentum into the rest of the season because they need him to continue to maintain that level of play. But by no means are you going to take this performance against a 2-win team and think that that's going to be multiplied across and have the same level of performance against much better players. I think that's just naive to think that.
One, the Raiders are probably the weakest front they have, right, for the rest of the season. So at least on the interior, obviously they have Max Crosby, who's an all-world edge rusher. But then you look like the Eagles have Moro Ojoma still and Jordan Davis still after not having Jalen Carter. Then you have Dallas, who has Quinn Williams, Osei Digizua as well. Yeah. We know that Houston has monsters on that defense. Yeah. We know that the Broncos have a disgusting front as well. So they're going to have to prove it against better opponents. Obviously, we'll also need to see if it's going to be Mekhi Becton next to him. All those guys playing for the entire game makes a big difference too. but it's good. Like, it's a good sign. It shows he has that in him. Maybe shows getting better, even if not every performance is going to be that good. Has to be a positive sign. But I mean, right now on his season, that looks like more of the outlier. But we still have more to get into, including what is the Chargers playoff number? Is it 2? Is it 3? Do they have to get to 11 wins? We're getting into all that and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different, and that's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. I love doing that as well because you can get a feel to a game, and sometimes there's a game where a team has a big lead, and you just know somewhere deep in your heart that team is going to give up that big lead. Chargers fans know it better than anyone. But with FanDuel, live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into that moment. Live spreads, money lines adjust instantly, player props, updates as guys heat up. And right now, for this game, I think we're seeing a little bit of the Jalen Carter factor into it. The line's moving a little bit closer. The Eagles are now only 2.5-point favorites against the Chargers on Monday Night Football, and I think that's at least with a skosh of skepticism about whether Justin Herbert's going to play. So it'll be interesting to see where that line goes. But if you want to get on the action and you want to be right in the middle of it this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. David, let's continue this Fan Mail Friday. Did want to get to the Jalen Carter news, but thank you to the everydayers who contributed on today's show. And we have a lot of really good ones to get into, including a couple repurposed buy or sells that we didn't get to earlier in the week, including this from Jackson, who says, buy or sell, the Chargers have the capacity to win the amount of games necessary to make the playoffs this year. From the looks of it, it looks like 10 to 11 wins will be the magic number. And the magic number I'm thinking about is how many more wins do they need? The Chargers are at 8-4 right now. It's still probably 2, David, but man, it's a crowded top of the AFC right now.
Yeah, it really is. I think when you look at it, and you have to look at the on-the-bubble teams, the teams that are right there in the mix. So you're looking at the Texans at 7-5, the Steelers at 6-6, the Chiefs at 6-6. So you have benefits over the Chiefs and the Steelers by way of the victories that you were able to accomplish over them earlier in the season. That definitely bodes well for the Chargers. That puts them in a good spot over those teams. You still have a clash against the Texans coming up, but also when you look at the records or the schedules of some of these teams, there's going to be some cannibalization that's going to take place because there's several games against each of these teams that they're going to have to play each other and have to play other tough teams that are in their division. So I think when I'm looking at this, just the way that the schedule looks to shake out, they absolutely have to get 2, I think, minimum to get there. If they get to 11, I think it's 100% wrap, done deal, no questions asked.
I agree with you 100%. I think, we have to kind of broaden the horizon, though, because I think you also have to look at the Bills, who are also 8-4 and don't look like they're going to catch the Patriots in that division, right? Then you also have the Colts, who are not the leaders in the AFC South right now and do have a tiebreaker over you. That's the hard thing right now is the Jaguars and the Colts both have tiebreakers over you. Your AFC record is so good, though, that there's other teams in it. Like right now, the reason they're the 5th seed, even though Jaguars and the Colts beat them, is because it's kind of a 3-way thing where the Chargers' AFC conference record is giving them still that 5th seed. But
yeah,
how many 8-4 teams are there, right? Like I think the Ravens are going to end up winning the AFC North. You don't even really have to pay attention to that as much because I think the Steelers will probably fall off. But Colts, Texans, Chargers, Bills, Chiefs, like those are 5 teams probably at least playing for 4 spots, or 6 teams for 4 spots if you include the Jaguars into that conversation, who are currently the leader, but they have to play these other teams. So the Chargers have a ridiculously tough schedule going down the stretch. 3-2 over that stretch, they make the playoffs. 2 wins, it depends on who it is, right? Like the Eagles game is big because the magic number, like just getting to 10, getting to 11 is huge, and this is a chance to do that. The 2 biggest playoff-wise are the Chiefs and the Texans. Those are the 2 that you have left on your schedule that would make the biggest difference as far as if the Chargers are going to make the playoffs with 10 wins or not. Because, yes, you have the tiebreaker over the Chiefs right now. You still play them. If you lose to them and they beat you once, you beat them once, that doesn't do anything for you, right? A lot of these teams, though, have brutal schedules. So, like the Colts, they're 8-4. They need 2 more to get to 10, and they have the tiebreaker over the Chargers. But they get the Jaguars twice. They haven't won in Jacksonville in forever. They get the 49ers, the Texans, and the Seahawks. They have to win 2 of those, and they can, but like that's not easy, right? The Chiefs play the Texans, and that's huge, right? Because the Chiefs are at 6-6.
If they go next.
If they go to 6-7, they would have to win out, right? The Chiefs basically have to go 4-1 against the Chargers, Texans, Titans, Broncos, Raiders. They get 2 more gimmies still left on their schedule though, with the Titans and the Raiders, right?
Yeah.
The Texans have the Raiders and the Cardinals still left on their schedule, so they have a couple gimmies. But they do play the Chiefs this weekend. They'll put them at 7-6, and they'd still need 3 more wins. And they also still play the Chargers and the Colts. Like if you win 2 games and it's just the Colts or the Texans and the Chiefs, you're pretty much in no matter what.
Yeah.
If you don't, and those teams have tiebreakers over you, with the Jaguars already having the tiebreak, the Texans potentially having the tiebreak, the Chiefs and the Jaguars, that puts you in a really tough spot. And in which case, you'd probably have to win all 3 of the other games that you have to get there. So 2 probably does it, but man, it's going to get really, really messy here down the stretch. The Bills have the Bengals, Patriots, Eagles, but also get the Jets and the Browns. So they, to get to 10, they need 2 wins out of that, and they have the Jets and the Browns left. So that's why I'm okay, they're probably going to get to 10. 11 might be tough for them, though, but either way. So it's going to be tough. Chargers have to go 3-2 to feel really confident about it. But let's get to this one from Chris Sayes, who says, the Chargers lost to 2 bad teams of their 4 losses. They have arguably didn't take the Jaguars and the Colts seriously because the QBs. So buy or sell this. The Chargers will perform good enough to go 4-1 in this gauntlet to end the season. David, any optimism for that?
4-1, man, that would be awesome. It really would be. I mean, is it a legit possibility? I think, the Chargers have already proven they can beat the Chiefs and the Broncos. They've done it already earlier in the season. The Eagles and the Cowboys, they both have their issues, right? The Eagles just got ran all over, and the Cowboys just got beat tonight by 2 scores by the Detroit Lions, who also ran wild. So I think that's definitely possible. I can see wins against those teams. I think the one that I'm struggling with the most is the Texans. Just that defense is disgusting. And if they get anything positive on the offensive side, then I have a hard time finding that one. So the other games, I can see pathways to victory against all these other opponents. They all have things that you can exploit and you can take advantage of. I just don't know if it's going to get there. I'm going to say 4-1 is a little optimistic, even for me.
Yeah, honestly, I think my most, if this even makes sense, plausible, optimistic take would be 3-2. I think that would be still proving a ton. But to me, to your point, the Texans, it's hard for me to get around that one. It's really hard, especially just the way the Chargers season ended last year, to feel positive going to that one. And also the Chiefs, man, for as much as they've, been up and down, it's like you have a desperate 3-time Super Bowl appearing team, right? Reigning, super desperate, basically potentially having to win out, especially if they lose to the Texans this weekend. So the good thing is one of the Texans or the Chiefs is going to take another L this week, and that helps. Let's go to the other side of the spectrum here from Caleb, who said, buy or sell, we lose the remaining games this season. I saw enough bad coaching against the Raiders that I have zero faith we win one more game. David, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that they made this post at halftime with the Chargers and Raiders game when it was 7-7. So I can understand the pessimism from that perspective, but also after that, they scored 3 straight times in the red zone. They ran the ball at an extremely high level, which is something that you're going to need to do against some of these teams if you want to beat them. And I think the Chargers have shown at points this season that if they are able to dedicate the run and have that type of success against the run, that they can put the points up necessary to combat and compete with these teams. They have one of the best pass defenses in the National Football League. If they control the opponent's running game, then they can make things really, really tough for a lot of opponents out there. So I don't think there's any way that they go winless the rest of the season.
I don't think it's going to happen, but it's possible. I think they're going to go into every game from here on out as the underdog. I don't see another game on their schedule where they're going to be favored for sure. They're in Kansas City. They're in Mile High. Dallas, obviously, we'll see that one maybe. That one will be close. But the Texans, after how last season ended and the streak they're on right now, we know they're not the favorites this week, right? They're going to have to upset somebody. This is the other thing. Obviously, you still play the Broncos, right? But the Broncos are 6-0 so far in Mile High. The Bo Nix has never beat the Jim Harbaugh or never beat the Chargers in general. But outside of the Broncos, the last 2 years, David, the Chargers are 0-7 versus playoff teams. I'm taking away 3 wins because they're all against the same team. So they're 3-7 overall. But 4 of these 5 games are not the Broncos, right? So that's pretty concerning. They're going to have to win and beat good teams with the limitations that they have right now. But if they don't, man, and they go on a really bad skid here, it's going to feel really, really hard to buy into kind of the direction of this team under Jim Harbaugh, after a year or two. But we still have more to get into, including if Justin Herbert is maybe the toughest quarterback in the league. We're getting into all that and more on today's Locked On Chargers podcast. All right, well, we have more Fan Mail Friday to get into, and thank you to all the everydayers out there for making us your first listen and also for helping make us the #1 sports podcast network. And thank you to John Clark, who contributes on today's show by saying, we all know about the debates surrounding whether Justin Herbert should be considered a top 5 NFL quarterback or not, but where does Herbert fall for you guys when it comes to a list of the toughest or most resilient NFL quarterbacks playing right now? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that with this list, there's no debate that he's in the top 5. I mean, Justin Herbert has clearly demonstrated through multiple serious injuries, fractured rib cartilage. We're talking about a torn labrum. We're talking about broken bones in his non-throwing hand, bad ankles. I mean, you name it, Justin Herbert has fought through it. The only thing that really took him out was that fracture to his throwing hand, where he just literally couldn't grip a football. So, I mean, Justin Herbert's that type of football player that you will literally have to drag off the field and put him in a straitjacket and prevent him from going out there, because that's the type of player and type of person that he is and what he displays on a daily basis. But there are a couple other quarterbacks that you have to put into that situation. Josh Allen, been a very, very durable quarterback who has played a very physical brand of football with the way he runs with the football. Like, you have to consider that guy to be tough. Another quarterback in your division also, Patrick Mahomes, is another guy who has been very durable, has been out there pretty much every single game. I know Baker Mayfield's a guy that's shown some toughness from time to time. Matt Stafford, another guy who's been in this league for a very, very long time and seems to be able to answer the bell even through the injuries that we know that he's dealt with. So, yeah, I think in this conversation, he's definitely top 5. I would say probably not the most resilient, just because he has missed a couple of games, but he's definitely in that top 4, top 5 conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think you have to put him up there in conversation for the top spot at least, because the thing is like you have to judge it on a curve, right? And the curve here is that Justin Herbert's taken a beating unlike pretty much any other quarterback you named on that list over the last 5 seasons while he's been quarterback of the Chargers. So playing through seasons where you're not that injured, not that impressive. Now, these are only the injuries that we know. There's, I'm sure, a ton of things that we don't hear about, right? And guys playing through stuff all the time. But like, we saw what that fractured rib cartilage looked like when he was out there, right? Like the pain he had when he, short-armed, duck-winged that throw right before hitting DeAndre Carter for one of the more insane throws he's ever had. Right after that.
Unbelievable.
You could see, like, it was gnarly, right? Like, I mean, playing with broken fingers in 2023 was tough. Like, last year, obviously super limited with the multiple sprained ankles and left games. But, like, left games and couldn't finish games, but still always found a way to get back the next week, which is just insane.
Yeah.
The fact that he's only, like, people say, okay, well, he's missed 4 games, but he's only missed time in 1 season. And there's only been 1 injury that's ever knocked him out, and he literally had to break bones on the hand that he throws the football with. So, like, obviously, like, there's certain things. If you tear your ACL, if you do some of these things, you're done. You know what I mean? And like that doesn't necessarily mean you're not tough, unless you're just Justin Herbert's predecessor, Phillip Rivers, who played through a torn ACL in a playoff game.
Yeah, that's a different level.
But it's cool though. Like it's cool for Justin Herbert. And like this is the other thing, man. Like this is the part maybe you don't talk about enough. Like this dude's making changes to his body that he is going to have to live with for the rest of his life.
This is true.
The rest of his life, he's going to have a plate in his hand.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to feel good in 40 years, dude. Like, it's just not,
No.
And
I got
this
screws
is
in my
sad
shoulder,
part.
and it doesn't feel good now.
That's the thing, dude. And, like, I don't want to make anyone, I don't want to bum anyone out here, but, like, there's something to be said about the dude who, like, the next day, the day of, after halftime in the locker room, is telling you, actually, no, I think I'm going to play on Monday night. Like, all they said is I have to get a couple of screws and a plate in my hand, and I can go out there. Like,
that's it? Yeah, I'm definitely
he's not even,
up.
like, considering himself, dude. So, like, I think, like, when you're criticizing these guys and stuff like that, and obviously we've seen every snap of Justin Herbert's career, and we're biased because we know how good he is and what he's had to deal with.
Of course.
But, like, this is also part of it. Like, that dude didn't even, there's no second thought. Like, he is going to permanently change his body if he has to be out there 1 week earlier than potentially, if he didn't, or whatever, a couple weeks earlier than if he didn't. Like, a lot of guys aren't making that decision. A lot of guys you hear, okay, actually, they're opting not to have surgery. Like, they're going to let it heal. Yeah. Justin Hurts, like, give me a robotic hand as long as I can go play in 7 days on Monday Night Football. Like, it's an underrated part of it, and I think the perfect, guy to come after someone like Phillip Rivers, who was the NFL's Iron Man for a time, right? And always played through a ton. So, yeah, I'm never going to question the toughness of Justin Herbert, and, like, the fact that he hasn't missed games with what he's been through beating-wise in his career is a trait. Availability is the best ability. Like, that is a huge ability that doesn't get talked about enough with Justin Herbert. And more than that, like, even when we've seen him pretty battered, like, he still goes out there and gives you the best chance to win over a ton of other quarterbacks. Like, he's still playing at an incredibly high level. So I'll get off my soapbox here. But if we're talking about Justin Herbert and toughness, I could go on a little bit about that. Let's get to this one from JM, which doesn't really have to do about toughness, but it's, will Herbert heal enough to play under center against the Eagles? This is big, David. He didn't do it when he was injured in the last game. Do we think we'll see it this week?
No, I don't. I don't think we are going to see Justin Herbert under center. I think that if we're in that short yardage situations where they have to do the QB sneak or that's the best play, then they'll probably bring in Trey Lance or they'll give it to Tyler Conklin, or maybe they'll do a wildcat. But no, I don't think you're going to see Justin Herbert under center at all. I think you'll probably see the pistol formation, and you'll see the shotgun formation where they just get the ball back to him. That's the best way to protect his hand. And, just putting it in that vulnerable situation under center is just not something I expect the mobility of his hand to be able to allow him to do. So I just don't see it.
I don't know. I think it's hard to say. I don't think they're going to try it until, like, kind of the last second, which I know is tough because, like, you have to build the game plan around it. But, yeah, I don't know. I think, because if it's not this week, then will he be able to do it the rest of the season? Like, is it going to heal if he's out there playing with it every week, or is it going to be this for the rest of the season? Whether or not he plays under center this weekend might tell us that, right?
Yeah.
I think the other part of this, which shouldn't be overlooked, is, like, ball security, man. Like,
yeah, for sure.
It didn't catch up to him in the last game, but we all saw the bobbles, right? The other part of it is, it's like, when you're, like, he's probably been handing off with the same hands while he didn't have, broken things on his hands the same way for, his most of his football career. Like, it's not easy. It's awkward. It's clunky. You're handing the ball off with a different hand on a different side. Like, all that stuff plays a part. So I think that, ball security is going to be huge, but it also will affect kind of how the Chargers, play call, and it does limit some of what they do offensively. This is from Mike W., who says, I don't know the answer to this, so I'm asking you guys, buy or sell. Because of his hand injury, Herbert will operate out of the shotgun for the Philly game, and it'll give him a little extra time to pass, resulting in his best passing game in a while. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know about his best passing game in a while. I think that's probably, putting a little bit too much on his shoulders, considering the Philadelphia Eagles have a pretty good pass defense. I think that's the strength of their football team. Obviously, we just saw them, get ran all over, which I mean, that's a pretty obvious blueprint that I'm sure we'll
Yeah.
be talking about on the Keys for Success show on Monday. But Justin Herbert's still going to have to throw the ball. They're still going to have to make plays on third down, and they're still going to still going to have to get the ball out. But I think we've seen him in the shotgun before, and it hasn't given him any extra time in those situations. So I don't necessarily think that it will give him more time just being in that position. I think it's just what they're going to have to do to protect him. And still be able to operate the offense.
Yeah, and I don't think. I mean, obviously, like he won't be turning his back to the line of scrimmage, which gives you better vision on some of those things. But yeah, I don't know. I think the hard thing here is it's hard to think he's going to have a huge day or better day than he normally would if he was playing under center, because the Chargers play action under center is better than their play action out of shotgun. The Chargers ranked 18th, or Justin Herbert, in passer rating out of shotgun play action plays, 18th. On non-shotgun play action plays, they rank 7th.
Yeah.
So it's just different. Like, it's just, now the math changes a little bit where, like, they have to run out of shotgun. So, I mean, maybe it makes you more likely to bite on those shotgun handoffs because that's where all of those handoffs are going to come from.
Yeah.
So that does change the math a little bit. But I don't know if it'll hurt the running game as much because, like, that's the big thing people haven't talked about enough about last game. Like, most of those rushing yards came after the Justin Herbert injury, right? And came out of shotgun as well. So they were dealing with that on the fly, did not know that was going to be the game plan coming in. Now, neither did the other team, didn't know they were just going to have to be only defending pitches out of the shotgun and the pistol and all those things. But they ran perfectly fine out of it last week. I do think it hurts the running game some, but it was nice to see that they could do it last week when they were forced to do it. And it kind of forced Greg Roman to get more creative. We saw a lot of different stuff from him in that last game. So hopefully we see a lot more to that. But yeah, if it is, quarterback sneak time, maybe it's Trey Lance. You should do it. If that's the best play, then put him out there for it. But obviously it's going to make things super obvious unless you have some sort of contingency or counter you're going to run out of it, right? Or instead of him actually just sneaking it. So
yeah.
That is going to wrap things up for today's show. The good news is we still have one more show before this game. On Monday, we will be getting into our keys for success and our bold predictions. So we'll put a post out so that everydayers out there can get their bold predictions in at Locked On LAC on Twitter, at Locked On Chargers on Instagram, and our Locked On Chargers Facebook page. Or call into the voicemail line at 323-524-7924 and get your 30-second bold prediction, buy or sell, or fan mail question on there. But to make sure you never miss the show, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from. But David, it'll be fun kind of having a little pregame on Monday before this game and then a live show maybe after a big-time victory on Monday night, and we can't wait for it. But make sure you guys are back here Monday for our Keys for Success show. And until then, go take it easy and go Bolts.